Now we are going to discuss whether Abhidhamma is Buddhavacana or not. Whether Abhidhamma is Buddhavacana or not has been a controversial question among the scholars. The heretics or Vitandavadins deny Abhidhamma as the Buddhavacana by putting a number of questions. These questions have been nicely tackled and answered by the Theravadins and have been nicely put by the Acharya Buddha Ghosh in the text At Salani, the commentary of the Dhamma Sangani. The following are the questions put by the Vitandavadins or heretics and wisely answered by the Theravadins. The first questions that has been put forward by the heretics is that before the convening of the first Buddhist council, Reverend Mahakassapa there utter Handa Avuso Dhammam cha Vinayam cha Sangayama, which means let us recite the Dhamm and Vinaya. The heretics argue that Mahakassapa did not mention Abhidhamma at that time but only Dhamm and Vinaya. This proves, according to the heretics, that Abhidhamma was not preached by the Buddha. Hence, it is not Buddhavacana. As an answer to this question, the Theravadins say that at the end of the first Buddhist council, the entire Buddhavacana were compiled and referred as the Tripitaka, Vinaya, Sutta and Abhidhamma. Further, it is said that when Mahakassapa mentioned the term Dhamma, it included both Sutta and Abhidhamma. Next question that is put forward is that Buddha preached only Sutta and Vinaya during the course of his Charika. Since there is no mention that he preached Abhidhamma to the people, hence it is not Buddhavacana. As answer to this question, we find that Buddha did not preach Abhidhamma here, but he preached it to his mother in the Tautin Sloka, who after 6 days of giving birth to Siddhartha Gautama died and took birth there. Buddha, after getting the enlightenment, knowing his supernormal powers about his mother and finding her spiritually elevated, thought it fit to preach her the Abhidhamma along with the thousands of the gods. He preached there the Abhidhamma under the Parichatak tree on a marble slab known as Pandukambala Sila continuously for 3 months. The preaching came out as the water comes out from the jar when it is turned upside down. But in order to nourishing his physical body, it is said that every day for a limited time, the Buddha used to descend and come to the Antadaha and used to go for alms begging in the remote place in Himalaya known as Uttar Kuru. After taking food, Sariputta used to meet him, to whom the Buddha used to narrate whatever he preached in the Tautin Sloka. The narration to the Sariputta used to be spontaneous, which the Buddha Blessed One used to do through his miraculous power in a short time. The time the Buddha used to spend here, for that period, he used to create another replica of the Buddha with the same body and speech, so that no person could recognize. Sariputta in turn preached the Abhidhamma to his selected and spiritually elevated monks, who further taught to their disciples. Likewise, the Abhidhamma was preached in an unbroken chain of relation of teachers and taught. But it no doubt came from the Buddha, hence it is called as Buddhavacana. The Kathavathu is the 5th book of the Abhidhamma Pitaka, and it also compiled by Mogli Putra Tissathera, 200 years after the Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha during the time of King Asoka in the Third Buddhist Council. Taking it to consideration, the heretics charge that by saying that the Kathavattu is not Buddhavacana, as an answer to this, it is said that Buddhavacana is of two types. Buddhavasita, that is preached by the Buddha, and second is the Buddha Anumotit, that is approved by the Buddha. Sometimes purposely Buddha used to utter only the first few lines of his discourses, and then he used to retire to his monastery. He used to ask the monk instructed to put forward the discourse. When that monk used to tell the assembly what they have been taught, for that Buddha approved, and therefore they also came to be known as Buddhavacana. For instance, Madhupindaka Sutta was preached by Mahamoggalan. The Samadhi Sutta was preached by Sariputta. It is in this way the discourses, though given by his disciples, were approved by the Buddha, and therefore they came to be regarded as the words of the Buddha. Similarly, we also find that Kathavattu, though compiled by Mogliputra Tissathera 218 years of Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha, but it is Matika, well approved by the Buddha. We also find in the text that it is mentioned by the Buddha that 200 years of his Parinibbana, there will be a monk named as Mogliputra Tissathera, who at that time, in order to solve the controversy and unite the Sangha, will compile the Kathavattu in the shape of the Nikaya. Thus, establishment of the Matika in Kathavattu was done by the Buddha, and the exposition of the Matika was done by Mogliputra Tissathera. Therefore, Kathavattu may be regarded as Buddhavacana. The heretics neither regard Kathavattu as the book of Abhidhamma and nor accept that there are 6 other books. But contradiction to it, they mention Mahadhatu Katha as 7th book. When asked to provide the details, they mention another name, Mahadhamma Hadaya. It is in this way they make Abhidhamma Pitaka 7, but on analysis, neither the Mahadhatu Katha nor the Mahahadaya stands as a self-independent book. Therefore, it is argued from the Theravadins that Kathavattu is the Buddhavacana. Since the discourses of the Buddha possesses the introduction, Nidan, including time, place, and the person who initiated questions. For example, Eom me sutam ekam samaye bhagava savatyam viharati jetvane anathapindakas arame. But we do not find such introduction in Abhidhamma. Hence, it is not Buddhavacana. But in answer to this, 2 answers are given. First of all, the traditional answer is given by a monk named Sumanadeva Tissa, who resided in Lohpasad Bihar of Sri Lanka. He mentioned that just like in the Sutta, there is also a Nidan Katha in the Abhidhamma. He mentions and refers to the following: Ekam samaya bhagava devesu biharati tavatintesu parichattak mule pandu kambal silayam tatrkho bhagava devanam tavatinsanam abhidhammam katham kathesi. Further, another argument regarding this can be said that we do not find Nidan in case of Vinay Pitaka, Therigatha, Dhammapad, but still they are included in Buddhavacana. Similarly, Abhidhamma is also considered as Buddhavacana. We do not find Buddha using words like Abhidhamma, etc. Contrary to that, we find words like Vinayadhar, Suttadhar, Dhammadhar, etc. being asked at the time of the Buddha. The heretics hence disapprove Abhidhamma as Buddhavacana. As an answer to this, we find reference to Chulvag, that Buddha instructs teachings according to the temperament and latent factors, and so we find the mention of Vinay being taught, then Sutta and then Abhidhamma, or Sutta first, then Vinay and last Abhidhamma, or it can be Abhidhamma first, then Sutta and finally Vinay. For a person who is very pure, intelligent, matured and elevated consciousness, the above sequence were much approved by the Buddha for preaching the Dhamma. Thus, Abhidhamma is the Buddhavacana. Heretics put a question that if Abhidhamma is also Buddhavacana along with Vinay and Sutta, then has it ever been approved by the Buddha? As an answer to this question, the Theravadins quote a passage from Gosing Sutta of Majjhima Nikaya, where it is mentioned that once a group of monks who were reciting Abhidhamma very loudly, another group of monks asked them to recite only from the Sutta and Vinaya. On being told this, that Abhidhamma is also Buddhavacana, which they never accepted. They also went to the Buddha for clarification whether Abhidhamma is Buddhavacana or not. Buddha told them that those who do not consider Abhidhamma as Buddhavacana, they are dishonoring and destroying the Buddha Dhamma. Abhidhammika eva dhammam kathika abhidhammo na buddhavacanam iti ye mayati ti jinichakam paharam denti. From these above arguments, it becomes clear that Abhidhamma is the Buddhavacana. Thank you very much for patience hearing, and I have a strong belief that you might have enjoyed this module, and it might have been much clear to you that whether Abhidhamma is Buddhavacana or not, and how Buddhavacana has been classified in the text. Thank you very much.